Hi, I'm Justin.
Also, I hate the way my voice sounds, so if you can do whatever Photoshop does to voices, make me sound awesome.
And this is my lovely friend,
The beauty in the eyes of the beholder, and it's just about getting into the seat of being the beholder.
Hayley.
I don't think you have to be particularly perceptive. I just think you have to look up.
This podcast is mostly just her telling me stories.
If you expose yourself to the possibility that this might be really awkward, there can be something just really cool on the other side of it.
She thinks that her life and way of looking at things are
Oh, I was kind of waiting on you. I thought you were getting your stuff ready. You're waiting on me?
pretty normal.
You got to edit out all the misinformation about the Amish.
Maybe you can relate.
I would like a chance to re-sing the Amish Paradise.
If you want lighthearted stories
All right, you want to talk about goats?
and stream of consciousness,
I just woke up and needed some friends, and so I bought them.
then you're gonna like the Sunny Side Up podcast.
Sunny side up, sunny side up, sunny side up, sunny side up.
So, if you're at all like me, you may feel that you're living in a world that can be a bit overwhelming and confusing at times. I'm also a huge fan of podcasts, documentaries, docudramas, stories, and of just information in general. Between all of that and the social media and news, sometimes our brains can feel like they're on overload. Hayley and I hope that this podcast can be something of an antidote to all of that. Like little jello shots of joy and distraction. None of it is too serious or really too informative. Mostly it's just two friends who have conversational chemistry talking about whatever enters the minds of relatively ADHD people. We hope you enjoy.
Yeah, so whenever we're going places, sometimes it's a Craigslist run, and there's a reason why we're going to this obscure place. Sometimes it's just a vacation and we're just trying to have a good time. But almost every time Tim is driving, like I said, he's got a trucker background, so he's just more comfortable with it, I guess, and he's better at it. It comes with its own perils. You're safer on the road, but you stop at the truck stop, and there's nonsense. There's shenanigans. They just do things differently.
Truckers?
Yeah, truckers.
Yes.
And not necessarily my husband, but the trucker stories are
The
an
best.
entity unto their own.
Yes.
Yeah. Like some of the very best. He's told me a story about a guy. It was actually a relative, and he's driving a truck down a highway, and a man radios back on a trucker radios back that he needs some help. This is like I-10 going through South Louisiana and Texas, where it's just bridge.
Yep,
It's
forever.
Just
The longest bridge I've ever been on.
Yes, low-sided bridge over bayou, swampy waters. So the guy is on this bridge, and he messages back that he's going to need some help. So Uncle Oscar slows down as he approaches the truck. He's going to just stop and help him out. I think the guy said he just needed some chains. And he pulls up, and the guy's like, here's what happened. Picked up this lady at the truck stop, a.k.a. a lot lizard, which was a vocabulary word for me, but that is a thing. I don't know what the technical term that everybody wants to use is, but lot lizard.
Yeah.
And she's in the truck, and, whatever situation was going on, she decided that she needed him to pull over so she could step out of the truck. And he pulls over, she opens the door, she steps out without looking, and she just steps over the side of the bridge all the way down into the bayou, which, again, most of this is not a terribly long fall.
Right.
10 or 20 feet, perhaps, but
Right.
you're landing in a bayou.
Right. Snakes, gators, turtles,
Yes.
and large mosquitoes.
All of these things.
Oh, poor lady.
And so it's nighttime.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and she falls straight into the bayou, and she's like, yelling and screaming. So he pulls up with his chains, and they lower them down, and they start to, lift her out. And she is yelling and screaming and cussing them for everything they're worth to get her out of there. And they pull, and she's still cussing, and they just get kind of tickled because that's kind of funny. And they get so tickled that they drop her back down into there. Yeah. And so then they're hoisting her back up again, and she's yelling, and she's cussing, and she's screaming, and they giggle again, and they drop her back in there. And so it's this episode of her going, up and down into the bayou at night.
No.
I mean, I'm sure they finally got her out of there, but I stored that away into my list of reasons to never become a lot lizard.
Yes.
Never hang out on the I-10 bridge at night. Be careful where you stepping out of your vehicle. there's just a lot of lessons.
And let's also think, if you do end up being a lot lizard that steps over a bridge, careful on how much you yell, because the dudes that are trying to rope you out via chain may find that humorous and
drop you.
Right, she had
endlessly, like the Hollywood Tower of Terror, up and down into the swampy bayou.
So awful.
A next level nightmare, I'd say.
I agree. Like, I honestly, going over a bridge, not knowing how far down it is, that's terrifying.
Jumping into an abyss, any capacity where you don't know.
Yeah, that's horrible. Horrible. And then, by the way, horrible is a combination of horrifying and horrible. Can we register that right now? On the Sunny Side Up podcast, I feel like
we will trademark it. We will submit it to Merriam-Webster for acceptance. But that is how...
It's pretty horrible.
Yeah, like that's how Lewis Carroll got several words into his dictionaries. Just use them.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's how.
Like, have you ever read the Jabberwocky? It's just full of all these little words. They make sense when you're reading them, that they're not even real words. But then because they make so much sense, it just becomes words, and people believe you. If you say it with enough conviction,
that's true.
You can get it. You can get anything to pass.
I'm a little bit of a word Nazi.
I'm not.
I know. No, but you're fantastic with words, so I've never had to correct you.
Yes, you have.
I have? When did I correct you?
I mispronounced experiential.
Really? How do you mispronounce experiential?
I don't remember. I just mispronounced it, and you corrected it.
Gosh.
Haven't mispronounced it since then, so thanks for that, I guess.
And I feel so bad. It's like, it is my Tourette's. Like, I can't, like, someone
It was helpful. It was your contribution to making the world better, is to
trying.
Just educate people.
Yeah.
Little drops of knowledge.
I like that. But you're right. There are people who I've seen, like they're lecturing or they're teaching, and they're confidently using a word incorrectly to the point where you're like, at first you're like, they're definitely wrong. And then, like, they double down on that word, and you're like,
maybe I'm
right.
Yeah. Well, like, he chortled in his joy, I think is the line out of the Jabberwocky. Chortled became a word after he used it. But you know exactly...
Wait. Chortled was not a word before him?
I don't think so. But the entire thing, like, let's see, 'twas brillig in the slithy toves to gyre and gimble in the wave, all mimsy were the boar groves and the mome wraths out grave. I'm trying to think through what some of the words were, but the Jabberwock, and it burbles as it comes, and you kind of know what that movement.
What are words called?
Or he moved around officially, and
because burble is a word I've used. But what are words that? What is that called? Like onomatopoeia.
Extreme exaggeration.
No.
That's hyperbole.
That's hyperbole.
You're going back to the 6th grade vocabulary list for me.
I know. Onomatopoeia, I think, aren't those words that are the same forward and backwards? Then there's another kind of word where the word sounds like what. In other words, when you say a dog bark, or you say he roofed, like roof, that's where the word and the thing. So burble is a word that is the word when you say the word.
It's the sound that he's making. It's the
sound, which, like in a lot of languages, that's what the word is. And there's a word that means that, and I don't know. I can't remember what it is. I like when words do that, though. You know,
they sound like what they should be.
Yeah, they put you in the story.
And then you can read what they are in other languages, like what they ascribe to animal sounds, and sometimes they get it so much more accurate than what we do. You're like, have you even heard a frog before you decide that was the correct way to describe it, croak or whatever? But some countries just did a better job of describing their animal sounds than we are. You got to sing all their kid songs to learn it, though.
Yeah, that's probably where I tap out.
I should go back and make a disclaimer about the truckers, because not all of the trucker stories are seedy. Like, I don't want to disparage the trucking industry by leaving it with one of the most encouraging stories that I was a part of involved a lady who was trying to become a trucker.
Yeah.
I was working in the GED department of an adult education program at a junior college. I was helping people to take their exams. I was working in the testing room. And there was a lady that came in, and there was a me problem, because I was a little annoyed because she would schedule it inconveniently, right? So it was just kind of, I was like, she was just a little annoying with the way she was kind of erratic with wanting to come in and take it suddenly or after hours or whatever. But I didn't ask a lot of questions. I would just schedule her for it and get to it. She got to the end of the test. The GED was a 4-part exam. It tested 4 major subject areas, and if you could pass all of those 4, you had 3 tries on each subject area.
Dang.
And if you couldn't pass it within 3 tries, then there's a couple of months waiting period before you can take it again.
Re-up.
And over a period of time, I think it would even expire, and you might have to retake the other sections. But she had passed 3 subjects, and she was down to the last subject, and she took it and almost passed, but not quite.
First time.
Yeah, and I think she retested and almost passed, but not quite. And so she's up against the 3rd test, and again, she's scheduling it at the most inconvenient times and without a lot of notice. And so I was, just trying to be patient with it. And then I heard her story. She let me know that the reason she was kind of coming in, why it was so urgent, she was in a very, very, very bad relationship.
Wow.
And she needed to escape.
Ooh.
So she packed all of the things that were most important to her in a vehicle, drove to the testing center.
Wow.
She had already lined up with the trucking company to get an over-the-road trucking job, which they'll pair you with another trucker to train for the first couple of months.
Yep.
So she would have somebody with her to keep her safe,
Yep.
but she would be away.
Wow.
And she had all of her things packed in her car downstairs.
Wow.
All she needed to secure that job was to pass this last section of the GED so she could lock it down. And if she didn't pass it, she didn't know what she was going to do because she'd just walked out and she couldn't go back.
Yeah. Wow.
And that was probably the most intense testing moment of my entire life.
Yeah, because you're like, this girl has to pass.
Everything mattered.
Would you have considered like jumping in and like, hey, that one over there you marked?
Man, I wish. We don't even go into the room. Like, they have to go in there and take it by themselves. But also, it was the section of math, which I'm going to be nobody's lifeline.
Sure. Yeah, I feel you.
Like,
Okay.
high school algebra is not my spiritual gift.
No.
But she goes in, she comes out, and at this point, once we all knew the story,
You're all rooting for her.
the teachers were holding our breath, and the score came in, and it was a pass. And she fell out of her chair with a wail. Like, I don't know if you've ever heard a true wail.
Yeah. Wow.
And collapsed in the floor in tears and cried. We all were crying.
That's beautiful.
And then we pick her up and quickly she goes downstairs where the friend was waiting in the getaway car to drive her and drop her off directly into the truck where the job was waiting on her ticket to freedom.
Isn't that something?
Yeah. And I see trucks driving on the road sometimes, and I just wonder, is there a woman who's riding to her freedom in that truck right now?
I've heard that, I don't know what the numbers are, but obviously it was, at one point, it was almost exclusively a male industry. And over the last, couple of decades, females have become more prevalent, and they're great drivers because women are typically more conscientious, follow rules better, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, that's actually really cool.
Hello, lovely friends. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. And it would mean the world if you would tell other people about this podcast and maybe even spam your social media accounts with just how much you're enjoying it. If you are, of course. Also, commenting and rating us on whatever platform you're downloading or streaming from is incredibly helpful to a little startup podcast like this one. On the other hand, if you are dissatisfied with your listening experience, please leave all of that hate on someone else's podcast. Just maybe to confuse them a little bit, right? But most of all, we hope you keep looking up and looking for the sunny side of life.